Good morning, welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Big good morning to everybody that's in the chat. We are running a poll already this morning. You'll see that poll question. Does the manager get credit for that result yesterday? The manager has been getting a lot of stick, rightly so, for the diabolical results that Celtic have been on over the last couple of weeks. Let me just jump to the. Let's just jump screen. Because I want to talk about, before we go on about the poll that's for the manager, let's talk about the game yesterday, because there's some stats that are unbelievable when you look at it. Celtic had 72% possession. Celtic had 31 shots. 31 shots. When was the last game that we had 31 shots? Level that camera up. Shots on target. We had 10 shots on target. It's unbelievable. When you go down and look into it even more, we had 31 shots in total, 10 on target. We then had, this is unbelievable, we hit the woodwork 4 times. It's an unbelievable. The stats yesterday were phenomenal. Shots blocked by the goalkeeper. 6 shots blocked by the goalkeeper. No, that's just. That couldn't be right. The goalkeeper saves. Now, this is one that we need to look at, because Kasper Schmeichel had very little to do in the game yesterday. I think we can all agree. And 1 shot on target, 1 goal. He made 1 save. The Aberdeen goalkeeper, on the other hand, made 7 goalkeeper saves. 7 shots on target. We've been complaining for 4 or 5 weeks that the manager just didn't get it. His style of football wasn't winning. When you look at the results, obviously, over the last couple of weeks, obviously, he won that one yesterday, 3-1. Got beat by Dundee United, 2-1. Got beat by St Mirren, Premier Sports Cup final, which was probably, it was more that was the big one for me, losing the cup final. The Roma one, I think that would give him a pass for that, because I don't think Martin O'Neill's team would have beat Roma, but you never know. And then getting beat by Hearts on the 7th of December. Before that, we'd been on a winning streak with but it was only 1-0 against Dundee under Martin O'Neill. So were the warning signs still there? Is it sign of progress at Celtic? I think the signs were there the first half against Dundee United. I mean, we were all saying, look, Dundee, the first half against Dundee United, we were playing fantastic football. Doing the watch along, you see that the players had that belief against Dundee United the first half. Something happened the second half. They went in on themselves. They stopped playing football the way that the manager wanted to. They went back to Brendan ball. Let's be honest. And then when you look at the game yesterday, we attacked from the front. Do you know, we've played football like that under Ange Postecoglou. We've played football like we did yesterday under Brendan Rodgers. Is this the game that not only buys the current Celtic manager time, but does it give him the chance to get the fans on side? The manager said yesterday that, look, getting the fans on side will come with time. When you look at the players that were on the bench and you look at the players that came on yesterday, the manager has to get some credit. Let's be fair, because he was playing Kieran Tierney in the back 3. Played Kieran Tierney in the back 3, brought on Liam Scales and pushed Liam Scales in defence on the left-hand side of the defence and pushed Kieran Tierney further forward. That is what helped Kieran Tierney get into the position. If he hadn't pushed Kieran Tierney forward, if Kieran Tierney was still playing on the back of the back 3, he would never have been in the position to header that goal into the back post. Not a chance he would have been there. He would have been further back the pitch. The manager has to get some credit. He changed it around. He changed it to two up front yesterday. You know, is it time ultimately that we start laying off the manager a bit? I think if we had lost yesterday, I mean, if it had been a draw yesterday, there would have been calls for him to go. But the fight was there. There was a lot of good to take out the game yesterday, especially when you look at the. I mean, the run that Aberdeen's been on is not great. I mean, they beat Kilmarnock 2-1. They beat Dundee, and they've been beaten in Europe over the last couple of games, and they drew 3-3 with St Mirren. You know, the results for Aberdeen don't lie either, but you could say that their results were actually better than ours in the league. Beating Kilmarnock 2-1, beating Dundee 3-1. They were scoring goals, Aberdeen. You know, they were on a fine form of playing football in the league. Drawn 3-3 with St Mirren. We beat St Mirren 1-0 with a late goal under Martin O'Neill. A late goal from our captain. We then go to a cup final and we get beat 3-1 by St Mirren. I think yesterday, when you sit and you analyse it, I think that he's come in, he's changed stuff, and we don't have the play. We all know that we don't have the players. Will he get the players that he wants? Will he get any new players in before beginning January? We've been linked with this player coming out of Union Berlin. We have been linked with a striker coming out of Union Berlin. If we just find the story. Ahead of January. The Serbian international, 25, is also wanted by Burnley, as they're looking to up their game. Celtic have been exploring other attacking players. A lot of people were on the channel yesterday saying, bring back Kyogo Furuhashi. But then, thankfully, it was only around about 37% of the channel that were watching the live that said, bring back Kyogo. The rest said, don't bother. He can play at centre forward. He can also play right wing. And he's had 8 assists as well as scoring a goal in 16 appearances this season. His contract at Union Berlin runs out in 2027. Celtic need strikers in. We all seen it yesterday. If we get a decent striker in that is even half of what Kyogo Furuhashi was, even half of what Lee Griffiths was, even half of what Odsonne Edouard was, or Moussa Dembele, you're going to get a striker that's going to start banging in goals. But anyway, there is another striker that we have been linked with, and where is the story? There it's there. It's a guy that we know well. I'm talking about him in a minute, but James Forrest. That's the wrong picture. Where's James Forrest pictures go? Does it go here? No. Why is James Forrest picture disappeared? Let me just see. Now we'll talk about this guy first. Evans, Roma player. He's on loan at Roma, and it looks like his loan may be cut short at Roma. Will Celtic go for Evan Ferguson at Roma? The prospect of him playing in January, in Italy beyond January, looks slim after the Juventus. After the Roma manager was beaten by Juventus at the weekend, has come out and said that, look, the 21-year-old who was left on the bench, he doesn't fit our system. He's not what we're looking for. So we're looking for a new manager. The manager says he's looking for new strikers in the January window. Does that mean that he'll go back to his club, or does it mean that he'll be pumped out on loan? And will Celtic take Evan Ferguson on loan? I think that there's more chance of the Evan Ferguson deal happening. And it will just be like Celtics to go down the road to get Evan Ferguson in, because if we get him in on loan, the board will not be 100% sure on whether to spend big money. Let's look at it realistically. The board will be a bit, do we give the manager 10-15 million pounds on players when he's maybe, does he see out the season? Do the Celtic board hold the money back to say, right, well, we should be able to close the gap on Hearts? If not, there's a good chance we'll finish second. Do we go out and spend 10 million on a striker and bring 10 million a striker to Celtic? Do we give the manager 10 to 15 million? You've got to weigh up the pros and cons. We need players in, we need reinforcements. But do we allow this manager to go out and buy players that are maybe then not fancied by the next manager? When you look at the shit show across the city, they're bringing in player after player after player, manager after manager. They're shite. Do we go down that road? Don't think Evan Ferguson's impressed with Celtic last week. Yeah, you could. He did say that, but there's so many rumours, and Evan is not one of them. Well, I'm reading an article where it says he is one. Celtic fan 18888. So, I'm looking at an article right now that says he could be possibly going to start Celtic. Celtic's prospects of landing Evan Ferguson in the January transfer window have increased, with further comments made by the Roma coach towards the Ireland international. Ferguson's move to Roma on loan from Brighton in the summer, but has struggled to impress in the Serie A. He's scored only 3 times since his switch, which including twice against Celtic in the Europa. The prospect of him staying in Italy beyond January looks slim after he was called out by the manager at the weekend. The 21-year-old was left on the bench at the start of the game. Ferguson isn't convincing me, says the manager. There we go. And it goes to say that could Celtic come in and take him on loan until the end of the season? I'm not saying about buying him, but I'm just saying what the rumour is there. So that is the 2 rumours this morning. Evan Ferguson and also this guy coming out of Germany. So tell me what you think in the comments section. Anyway, we need to talk about James Forrest. Where is Jamesy? James Forrest, there he is. James Forrest didn't get man of the match yesterday, but Kieran Tierney got man of the match, which is something else because, Kieran Tierney did score the goal. He was playing in the back 3, but James Forrest, we need to take a minute and talk about James Forrest because there wasn't so long ago that little James Forrest, well, it was a long time ago, it was around about 11 years ago now, that James Forrest was almost on the verge of leaving Celtic. Yep, I dug out a story from Sky from a long time ago. James Forrest could be set to leave Celtic after turning down a new contract. James Forrest is set to leave Celtic after manager Ronnie Dyler revealed that the winger had rejected a new contract. The 24-year-old at the time, this is going under Ronnie Dyler years, had previously claimed in November that the 24-year-old had previously claimed in November that he wanted to stay at Parkhead and was pretty confident of a new deal would be sorted out. However, Dyler says that Forrest, who's been capped 12 times by Scotland, wants to try something new. You pesky man, Ronnie Dyler. The Celtic manager had earlier confirmed that a 4-year deal was on the table for the player, and we offered him a contract and he's turned it down. He's told us that he wishes to see what his other options are. Dyler told the Evening Times at the time. I cannot see that we'll go back with another improved deal. Well, how that one turned out, didn't it? Ronnie Dyler didn't see out another year after that statement. And James Forrest yesterday scored for the 17th season in a row. There's only one player in front of James Forrest. Will James Forrest get a contract for another year? Or will he decide that enough is enough and hang up his boots? It's probably a good poll question. Do you think that James Forrest should get another year's contract? Or is it maybe time for Celtic to look for new and exciting wingers that can score goals? Do you know what's crazy? Is James Forrest is still doing it. James Forrest, on his debut against Motherwell in 2010, at that time, he had made 187 appearances, and he suffered for injury problems for the past few years. His injury problems are well documented over the years, but his ability his ability to score goals. He gets in the right position. He's done it over the years. He's an absolutely fantastic player. And I just think it was interesting that under Ronnie Dyler, he was almost ejected from Celtic forever. Could you just imagine that? And now I see myself in double. Apologies, place it wrong. But James Forrest likes a good miss as well. He does like a good miss, but let's not talk about misses in Celtic, because Celtic have got a bit dab handy at missing. I mean, we could go back to those stats from yesterday. Um, I mean, look at it, 31 attempts at goal. That's ridiculous. Don't know. Stop picking on James Forrest when the current team yesterday had 31 shots, 10 shots on target, 15 shots off target, hit the woodwork 4 times. But you're relying on James Forrest at 180-year-old to come on and go, oh, fuck, I've got to show these boys again, gaffer. James Forrest will still be here in 5 years' time, pissing off everyone at Celtic, pissing off the Celtic fans, and tapping the ball into the back of the net, just coming in and just stomping up the pitch. Hold you in the back of the net. We James Forrest still doing it. The year's 2029. James Forrest is still at Celtic scoring goals. That'd be fantastic, but I don't think it will happen. So tell me what. Let's get back to the poll question. I've done it again. Put screens. Put that one on and leave it there. Right, that was the result yesterday. How many players do you think that we need in the transfer window? And does the manager get credit for that result yesterday? Is the poll question. Wow, we're running at 190 votes already in 19 minutes, which is good. 191 votes. 69% say yes, the manager does get credit for the result yesterday. 70% say yes, the manager gets credit. And 30% say no. Yeah, I've seen that video of him getting pulled over the post and Celtic fans saying that's the only points that you're getting. Right, tell me in the comments section if you're in the no camp and why the manager doesn't get credit for yesterday. Tell me why, and we'll get some of the comments up on the screen this morning. Kyogo, get your bars back up the road. Really? He's a player with a dodgy shoulder that wanted away, that down tools so many times at Celtic. But people, we need to stop going backwards. I would rather bring in a lone player than bring back Kyogo. Just saying. Right, our defence is the biggest problem in my opinion, says Jerry. I think so. We need. You need 3 strong centre backs to play the system that Wilfred. Listen, Wilfred Nancy have come in and he knows the system that he wants us to play. Oh, just shut this blind. Son's decided to move around. He knows the system that he'll want Celtic to play, and he'll know the type of player. Where does Alistair Johnston fit in this system? I mean, does Alistair Johnston go further forward? Is Alistair Johnston in defence? It'd be interesting to see what the manager does when Alistair Johnston finally does come back. The chance Kenny had yesterday, he pulled it wide, shows he isn't good enough to miss the goal completely. It's totally unacceptable. Well, so did Dyson Maeda. You know, Johnny Kenny didn't miss 31 shots. I think that picking on a 22-year-old's a bit lame when you've got a lot more experienced players. But everybody knows my opinion on it. We need at least 5 players in the next transfer window. Lauren with some sensible comments. I know that the misses are terrible, but we are creating so much. A better quality squad would be crushing it. Cruising it. Crushing every team in the league. Could we be cruising yesterday? Chilper says that he thought that Shin was getting into good positions yesterday, but was a bit unlucky. And he also says, no, not Kyogo for me. Bring back Rocky. I think that there'll be people with inside Celtic that will tell the manager that Rocky's not the answer for whatever reason. You know, I don't think Kilper says that he thought. I don't think that a player like Rocky would get put out on loan and get the possibility. Kyogo's been shite for Birmingham. Yeah, he has, but people want him back at Celtic, which is crazy. Kyogo's done. We need young, fresher players. They should have been playing like that the last two games, not just the first half. Seth got rotten. Mm. AJ will play anywhere. Ask him, to be honest. Yeah, but I wonder where he played under the manager when he was at Montreal. Because if he's played this same system at Montreal, maybe need to do a bit of digging into that to see exactly where Alistair Johnston did play. When's Jota back? Some people are saying February, March. AJ is well suited to the right wing back, in my opinion. Yeah, I think so. If Yang is off, AJ will take that position. Hopefully Yang is off. I mean, as good as a player Yang is, excuse me, um, well, a lot of people want Alice, Kyogo back. I think that's the wrong way to go. Look what happened when we brought Jota back. He got a long term injury. Do you know what I mean? Celtic Match says, Baz, the rumours about McGregor joining Brendan in Saudi. Do you think he will go? I've said my opinion on it. I think that it's maybe time for him. Do you know, if I was the last 2 years of his career, I wouldn't be annoyed if he went. I'd be sad if he went because I think he's been a fantastic player. But modern game football, listen, I don't think that Callum, from a financial point of view, I don't think Callum's been on the wages that even Scott Brown was on at Celtic. Don't know. I mean, Scott Brown made some decent money out of Celtic. Callum's made decent money out of Celtic in our land of making money. Do you know, the normal working man wage, he's made a good chunky cash. I'm on 30 odd grand a week's not to be sniffed at. But I think he could go there and make over 100 grand a week. And I think that would be phenomenal for him. And I would say go. It leaves Celtic in a perilous position because it's you know there's a change coming. There's a change coming, and we don't have a new Callum McGregor, a new Kieran Tierney coming through the system. So yeah, I would say to him, like, maybe it is time to just go. And you know, with the demonstrations outside Celtic Park yesterday, a lot of people still wanting big change at Celtic. Who then comes in? I mean, it's an open question that has so much narrative to the final answer. If you, it's not just a yes or no question. Do you think he will go? There is things that he would need to look at. I think. You know, there's a lot. It's not just a football. It's not just a football answer. Because let's face it, he could go over there and play football, and he'll stroll through it, playing in the nice warm weather. You know, not freezing your arse off last 2 years of your career. Or do you think that, you know, winning more things at Celtic and becoming a legend, you've got these two forces. You know, you've got good and evil sitting on your shoulder. 16, 18 isn't as a young player. 22 isn't. Not at Celtic, it's not. 16 to 18, and you're getting nowhere near the first team. We need to stop talking about 16 to 18-year-olds being young players. That's academy players. So, yeah, null and void. Felt bad for Shin. He was brought in position for the third. I just don't think Shin Yamada is the answer either. Get the Green Brigade back in now. Interesting comment. Braga and Devlin from Hearts, get them signed. I can't see us signing Hearts player in this day and age. Casper was too slow going down for the goal. It was that. Probably won't see Jota this season. Time he's match fit. Yeah, I've got the argument. Not heard much from Alistair Johnson on how great Nancy is since their meeting. Well, why would Alistair Johnson be talking to the media? Alistair Johnson's out injured. It's not often that injured players talk to the media. It's fit players. Sensible question. Sensible comment, actually. Kyogo couldn't wait to leave, but there's some players. Alistair Johnson played full-back defender in Montreal. Thanks for that one. I knew someone would look it up. Give Shin a run of games. Why? So he could just be as woeful as Johnny Kenny and then just get the same stick. If he's not doing it in training, players are getting their chance because of what they're doing in training. We could sit on YouTube and other forums and say, why doesn't Shin Yamada get his chance? Well, because Johnny Kenny is obviously doing a lot more in training what Shin Yamada is. That is the reality. Where's Gerrard going to play? Left wing back, right wing back, or is one of the centres behind the striker? No idea. He's better on the wing, isn't he? Schmeichel on a guarantee to play in his contract. Must be something. Because Schmeichel's. We can talk about Schmeichel all day long. It's unbelievable to think that the amount of goals that's come off of Schmeichel's hand and went into the back of the net ever since the cup final back in May. And it was another one against Aberdeen yesterday. He did all the right things, Schmeichel. He came out from his goal. He made himself big. The boy hits it straight at him. There was another one where he punched it out yesterday, where it would have been easier for Schmeichel to grab. And all he did by punching it out with his two hands was put Celtic under more pressure. There was no one near him when he punched it out. It would have been easier for him to grab the ball. And do you know what happened to the good old day? Keeper grabs the ball into his chest and then slows the game down, gets the players back out or just gets it right out to one of the fullbacks and gets the ball moving again. I just think Schmeichel's making the wrong decisions. And he maybe thinks he's making safe decisions because of his age and experience, but Callum has won everything with us. If I was him, I would go and earn a big payday. And then the question is, if Callum was to leave in January, who would be our captain? I think there's only one person that would be the captain, realistically. And it's that man that's up there with Callum. And it's Kieran Tierney. Kieran Tierney is the man that was brought back to Celtic for that purpose. Let's face it. As much as he's been injured over the last few years of his career, touch wood, where he's not really been injured this season, has he? And he's a great motivator. And you saw the reaction yesterday when he scored that goal. You saw how he turned to the fans and he was, get right in there. So yeah, I think that. Get McGinnon. McGregor's movement from the last goal was pure quality. Yeah, a lot of people say that McGregor is rubbish. Can't believe Casper is still keeping that shut. Boof. I think Alistair Johnson could play right centre back or right wing back, no problem. He could that. Make Johnson captain. I think that there's more chance of Kieran, and I'm going to tell you why I think there's more chance of being Kieran Tierney being captain. He came through the system at the club. He knows what Celtic are really all about. He has that connection with the fans. His family are all Celtic supporters. Nothing against Alistair Johnston, but there's always a chance that Alistair Johnston's head could be turned. And that's my only fear of putting Alistair Johnston as captain. Alistair Johnston has said, look, if I'm in the position to play at Celtic the rest of my career, then that would be an unbelievable honour. It's not often that a foreigner stays at a club that long. Do you know? You've had Larson and that for 7 years. You've had other players that have stayed for a number of years, but to get the captain's armband is always someone that's generally regarded as someone that isn't going to go anywhere. Kieran Tierney, someone that gets the club inside out, someone that has a connection with the fans, someone that can relay the feelings of the fans to the team. And that's what wins it. For me, that's what wins getting. I mean, it's not a win getting it, it's an honour to be given the captaincy. And I think that's why the honour would go to Kieran Tierney and Alistair Johnston as backup. You know, I would take the armband off of Cameron Carter-Vickers, to be honest, because he's another one that's not fit for us. Cameron Carter-Vickers has probably got a worse record than Kieran Tierney for being out injured. But anyway, we move on from that. The poll question is at 274 votes. Does the manager get credit for that result yesterday? 70% say yes, 30% say no. Tell me in the comments. I've still not seen people in the comments telling me why the manager doesn't get credit. Scott says we need at least 5 new players in this window. Need to see if Tisdale. We need to see Tisdale gone, as he can't have him involved in any aspect of our club. The football doctor. Well, if the football doctor is the man that's taking responsibility for the manager, I'm going to play devil's advocate here this morning, Scott. If Tisdale is the man that has taken credit for the appointment of Wilfred Nancy, and it turns the corner, and we're going a little run of results now over the next 3 weeks before we go back into European football, the next 4 weeks or whatever it is, before we go back into European football, isn't there an argument there that says, and I don't believe this myself, but I've got to put it out there, is there an argument there that says that Paul Tisdale is actually doing a half-decent job behind the scenes? I'm just saying, I don't say that I agree with it, but sometimes you have to put across an alternative. Something that isn't really getting done a lot, but the less we talk about that, the better. So tell me what you think about that, Scott. I know that we need at least the minimum. I think we need more than 5. I think we need 7 players, but you want Tisdale gone, as we can't have him involved in any aspect of our club. But it was alleged that he was the man who put forward Wilfred Nancy. Just saying. So I'm sure you will reply. Why didn't any Aberdeen players, I don't know. Yesterday, we want to take a bit of pressure off the manager. Jota's back in February, allegedly. CCV next season. Alistair Johnston and Kelechi, unknown. It doesn't need to be media. I think that you have to have permission to speak to players. Players just don't go and speak to the media willy-nilly. Hence, I think you're talking about Alistair Johnston. You've got to ask permission. There is a proper and correct way of doing things at a football club, even though some people think that Celtic are an absolute shit show. Alistair Johnston should just concentrate on getting fit. You dropped Hatate for Turnbull when he came to teach Hatate a lesson. Turnbull, that beginning of that season, if you look back to that pre-season, David Turnbull was on fire that pre-season. He was way better than Rio Hatate. But because Rio Hatate was dropped by Brendan Rodgers at the start of that season, because he was in better form, way better form. And he was justified in doing it because David Turnbull scored, I think it was 2 or 3, was it 3 games in a row at the beginning of that season? And then ultimately he was in the last year of his contract and he wasn't going to sign a new contract. So Celtic sold him in the Christmas window, the January transfer window, they sold him for £3 million. That's when Celtic had their head screwed on. They let Greg Taylor, who was once valued at £8 million, walk away for nothing because they couldn't get another player in. Don't you did my shin, Yamada Baz. Don't you did my shin, Yamada? Still got wee Callum Osmond too. Hurry up, wee man. Yeah, he's a fantastic player. And I think that here's a thought to the people that are giving out stick to Johnny Kenny. I wonder if they'd give out the same stick to the young boy Osmond, considering Osmond's only 18. Would they turn around and say he's not good enough for Celtic? Maybe it's just because he's Irish that he gets it. Sinisalo needs to be the number one goalkeeper, or he'll be off in January. If we're looking at it, yeah, I think so. Can't believe Bernardo doesn't get a sniff. Yeah, I still think it's unbelievable that have we still got it? Oh, it's not that one. Oh, I must have got rid of it. Shin must be sitting on his arse and training. Yep. Some of you lot want us to fail. Shocking. Huns have got 3 players signing the 1st of January. We don't have one striker on that date. Heads must roll. Have they? Who's told you that the Huns have 3 players ready to sign on January the 1st? Because you know more than Rangers fans then. Kenny's only getting a game because we've been hopeless in recent transfer windows. Exactly. And we have no other options out there. We need to carry 3 or 4 strikers in the squad with the amount of games that we play per season. Exactly. And that's one of the reasons that Johnny Kenny's also getting stick. Facts are facts. I'm not a big Schmeichel fan, but any decent striker, 1-on-1, should score. The defence were at fault yesterday. Watch this space. If Calmack goes, Bernardo will fill his position with KT as captain. Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. Paulo Bernardo has been waiting, and you know, maybe you know the way that football works, and maybe that's the only reason that Paulo Bernardo has kind of just he knows the process. He understands, like the ex-manager Brendan Rodgers says, trust the process. I'm just waiting on the new manager coming in and saying trust the process. Why is Michael allowed to carry his kite? Baz, you've just hit the nail on the head. Do it in training, and maybe that's why Sinisalo isn't getting a game. Strange why 3 managers have not played him though. And no, I think when it comes to goalkeepers, there is a hierarchy. It's the only position in the pitch where it doesn't matter how good you are. Goalkeepers, it's a strange department. There is a hierarchy in goalkeeper terms, which Celtics, it's an old thing to do. You know, the older experienced goalkeeper always wins the day over the young, less experienced. It's crazy. It is crazy, but in football, Celtic are one of the only clubs that still go with that. Casper's not seen it being the same. Yeah, he's not. I prefer Luke. Yeah, he feels the team and knows what Celtic really is. So you'd prefer Luke McCowan at Celtic over Kieran Tierney, who came through the ranks at Celtic, whose family are Celtic. But just because Luke McCowan's family are Celtic supporters, Luke McCowan didn't come through the system. So that's why it will be him and not Luke McCowan. Jed says, we played some sexy football yesterday. Sexy football? Oh. I'm not too sure if it was it was good football, but would you go down the road of sexy football? Oh, I'm not too sure about that, Jez. Interesting one. Robertson from Liverpool to be captain. Will he take that massive wage cut? And will he come in the next window? If Shin's not doing in training, Sinisalo's not doing his training, Michael rarely catches the ball when it's simple. He punches it. Still say his shoulder isn't fully fit. To be fair, if Nancy's in charge, Alistair Johnson captain wouldn't surprise me. No, this is true. KT got 90 minutes yesterday. Aye. KT for skipper. Hope you all have a awesome Christmas and New Year, season 2026. I'll see you tomorrow. And right through the holiday season. Sinisala's not doing it in training either. Says, yep. Yang for captain. There we go. Just there's always someone got to just throw a grenade in there. Yang for captain. That would be good. What happened to Hatata yesterday? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I was against KT coming back, says Chris, but he's gradually getting there. McGinn and Robertson are old men now. Don't let the club stagnate. WF will take risks, but I doubt he wants over the hill players. I don't think so. I think you're right with that. The fact that we've got Kieran Tierney on a 5-year contract, he's still got 4 years to go after that. So, we'll wait. Forget McGinn. KT for captain, in my view. Yep, I think so. Crazy but realistic prediction. CCV will never play for Celtic again. Who buys him? Who buys him? This is the issue you've got. If he's not fit going into the summer transfer window, if he's not fit going into the summer transfer window, who buys him? That's the realistic question of where we are. Right, apologies, I'm going to jump through a lot of these comments because there's 460. Was Tisdale brought in by Brendan? Tisdale's an imposter. Tisdale is clueless. Exactly. Tisdale put forward. Nancy says it all. Terrible pick. Oh, I'm waiting. Do you know what? I think that Wilfred Nancy's going to be having us all eating humble pie. One long ball over the top, and we're goosed. That's how Livy will play on Saturday. Oh, come on. Where's the positivity? Where is the positive? Brian, you need to go back and watch the beginning of the video. I'm not going over old news that we've done. Anyway, David Watson from Kelly to replace McGregor. Poof! Papering over the cracks with an 87th minute winner. 87 minutes against 10-man Dons is a joke, says Dexter. Interesting. I mean, we could go back and show you the stats, but if you go back to the beginning of the video, you'll see the fact that we did have 31 shots. And I'm going to say, how on earth is 31 shots papering over the cracks? 10 shots on target, 15 shots off target, 4 hitting the woodwork. If the 4 that hit the woodwork yesterday had went in, I spoke about it being the 9-1 game? The game that was scored in December, we scored 9 goals. If those 4 that hit the woodwork yesterday, you're talking about a 7-1 win. So I don't think that it's papering over the cracks. I think that's in the manager's eyes and the board. They'll see it, say, look, yeah, it's going in the right direction. Go game by game. And I think that the club will ultimately give the manager game by game. Anyway, on that note, Tisdale was brought in by Desmond after a chance meeting at a golfing event, allegedly. Can't see that. But anyway, has the manager just brought him time? That was the question in the poll. Does the manager get credit for that result yesterday? Because it was the manager that made the changes during the game. The manager gets the abuse when it doesn't go his way. Do you give credit to the manager today? 71% say yes, 29% no, and they've still not told me in the comments why not. On that note, I'm going to end the poll because it's at 334 votes. That's it, locked in. The answers have been lodged. And on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.